Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, we are recording this in the morning, as you can tell by the morning light coming through onto Barry Drake's face. The exile dub is here. His curtains are closed. It's good to see you, gentlemen. We are discussing all matters, friends and supporters, Cork Greyhound Racing Irish Laurels, which kicked off on Saturday night at Curraheen Park. A great weekend for Greyhound sport, of course, in Shelbourne. We had the Juvenile Derby quarterfinals. We also had the opening round heats of the Yvonne Barry Open 600, and the Fair Warrior kicked off at Mullingar. So loads to discuss, loads to get into. But of course, we are here to discuss the Laurels. Barry Drake, I'm sure you were at Curraheen Park on Saturday night and loving every minute of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Ian. Great to have top class racing back at Curraheen Park. Some greyhounds, of course, that featured prominently in the betting for the recent Irish Greyhound Derby, and it was a spectacular opening round. Big crowd in attendance. Track was looking fantastic. Loving all the new signage that has been put up around the track and stuff like that. Parade area was looking beautiful as well. So yeah, look, it was great to have, as I said, top class racing back at Curraheen Park, and we're very much looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
Tommy, there's nothing like Laurel's time down at Curraheen. Place comes alive. We saw some shocks. We saw some brilliant displays. But all in all, we saw enough evidence to suggest that the coming few weeks are going to be really enthralling, and it's a cracking Laurel's.
Yeah, it is. Like sometimes you get maybe a Laurel's where there might be two or three, real top class greyhounds. I think there's about 10 in this year. And the beauty of it is, even though some of them didn't perform on Saturday night, they still qualify, so there's every chance that it'll happen next week for them. So, I mean, the track was on fire, as you'd expect. I mean, we saw it when Magical Mary did a trial pre-racing, and she did 27.80 off a 3:30 section, 15.92 down the back. So, I mean, she set the tone early, about half an hour before the first race, and we saw a pile of, the beauty when it's as tight as this, Ian, is that it's going to be down to the eye and knowing the greyhound, because they're all capable of doing a clock close to 28 seconds when the track is as fast as it was Saturday night.
Yeah, there was a few dogs caught the eye in defeat, as you said. That fourth place qualifying, it could make a big difference going forward in the Laurels. Let's get straight into it, gentlemen. We'll glance through the heats and then we'll get back to the main talking points. There's no point in doing an in-depth sort of review of each of the heats, but I was caught out in the opening heat. Gary Joe came in to drop one Romeo on fire. I didn't discover that until about 10 minutes after the race going, God, Romeo on fire really impressed me. The fact that it was Gary Joe, not so surprising. He's been a greyhound that's been knocking at the door. You can see week on week he was improving. Took an awful tumble in the plate final on Derby final night, but this was a fine display by him. Law Hill Roy absolutely blitzed the lids. Look, after a 28-19 trial, you'd expect him to go round in front and win off a 3:20 start. But Gary Joe, just for a few strides on the back straight, made him look slow. This was impressive, Tommy.
This was very impressive. Now, there's a couple of issues going forward, but this was very impressive considering Law Hill Roy did a 3:20 sectional, which wasn't the fastest on the night, but it was still a phenomenal sectional. Couple of problems. He's an inside seed who tends to move a little bit middle. He also missed the kick slightly and showed phenomenal pace. I mean, proper pace to the first bend, and then he's kind of forced to run a middle two bends. Now he ran them well. Don't get me wrong, but he's going to have to trap that a little bit better, and probably best. I'll back the dog later on. We'll talk about it later on, but I have a small bit of an issue that if you don't want to be in trap one, you might find yourself in trouble as the heats go on, because it's so tight and there's so much early pace in the competition. But he's a proper dog. He's a type of one. I might have left him for the Ledger personally. I might have given him a young dog, inexperienced dog, given him a little bit more time. I'd love to see him win it for Pat Maloney. I'd love to see it, because Pat's a great supporter. There's a great lot of the breeding that what he's brought through over the years is savage. And I said it before. I think when he was running, was he in the first round of the Derby? Maybe. I think I said that Pat said to me one night below in Youghal that he said he had done things that Wolf and Sonic hadn't done when he had them before they went to Graham Hollands. He said he just knew straight away he was a little bit special. I think we saw that. Like he had to show absolutely ridiculous early pace to get to Law Hill Roy, who did a 3:20. I mean, that 3:20 is the equivalent of about a 1:93 in Shelbourne. Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know how to equate the tracks, and there was a 5 spot,
and it looked just because he absolutely blitzed out for
every bit of it. Yeah, every bit of
it. Gary Joe, he's always been well thought of, as Tommy suggested. It's starting to come to fruition. This dog is really developing.
Yeah, look, without a doubt, and it was a great way to open the Laurels, and thought he showed fantastic pace on the first two turns. to quickly take up the running going down the back straight. And I would imagine, obviously, look, he wasn't, I'd say, an intended runner for the Laurels. Obviously, as you pointed out, he got a tumble in Shelbourne Park, and I'd say they were going to go down the Ledger route. But when Romeo Fire picked up an injury, and there was I suppose, a vacancy there with Pat being local as well, that's why they jumped at the opportunity, and hopefully it'll work out for them. Elsewhere in the race, thought Curraheen Lass was a bit disappointing. Obviously, she's not trapping, but she showed nice pace down the back straight, but she was passed again late on by Bella Medina Roxy, who ran a cracker from the outside. But yeah, as I said, look, a great way to open the Laurels, and hopefully Gary Vojo could be one of these big local contenders in the coming weeks.
You suspect he probably wasn't entered after that tumble. Give it a chance to give him a bit of a return. He probably told him he was ready. He was probably just a dog. He looked like a dog that was probably bouncing at home in his kennel, and they went to Usher. Let's have a go with him now that the opportunity's arisen. Going on to the second heat, we learned nothing new here. Only that Skywalker Barry remains a really top class performer. He's an October 18 whelp. He's now 4 years of age. He's officially a veteran. We saw him running so well at Shelbourne Park in recent weeks. A bit flat in his last display in the Derby semi-finals, but this was another fine run by him. I thought Kilcolgan Comet ran a fine race in defeat. He had run very well at Shelbourne his previous start. They were the two in the race to take out of it. But Skywalker Barry, there's not an awful lot you can add about him. Barry, he's just a wonderful tracker and a greyhound that's always loved Curraheen.
Yeah, exactly. Finalist last year. Look, I suppose we're running out of good things to say about Skywalker Barry, but it was a very professional job, bounced out in front, and dominated from start to finish. 28-26, that's what you would expect from Skywalker Barry. So yeah, fantastic performance. And the runner-up, Kilcolgan Comet, thought that ran a big race in defeat. Is capable of a quicker start. Showed a lovely injection of pace into the opening turn, and really tried hard down the back straight. So that went down as a big performance in defeat, only beaten a length. And have to give Slaney side Jimbo mentioned as well, although he was beaten 5 lengths in 28-26. He's a ground that I was back in the A3 company probably around 6 weeks ago, so that's a big step up from him, and a good effort, and he's on to the second round as well. Yeah, but yeah, look, great race. Skywalker Barry, brilliant in front, but take note of Kilcolgan Comet. I think that'll be winning races, plenty of races going forward.
Yeah, Tommy, like ourselves, Skywalker Barry, a bit of a veteran, but still, still shows this class every now and again. Kilcolgan Comet running well in second spot. Dare I say, two dogs that are probably better suited to the likes of Curraheen Park than Shelbourne Park.
Yeah, but Skywalker Barry is just a smashing dog.
He's proven everywhere.
Kilcolgan
Comet dog has good form around Cork in the past, and this was arguably nearly a career best display in defeat.
Well, he won a heat of an unraced, beating Broadstrand Noah doing a 3:23 sectional, so obviously he can break a lot better. But this was the heat that said to me, this is going to be fiercely competitive right to the finish. I mean, they were doing 28-26, and I think Kilcolgan Comet tried hard in a lot of places around the track to get to make a telling challenge. He could never quite do it. Skywalker Barry, he's not at his very, very best. But what a greyhound to still do 28-26 in Curraheen Park. We've said so much about him, and every bit of it is deserved.
Yeah, he has a 28-16 in Curraheen, plus 10 in the past, but to be still doing that at 4 years of age is remarkable. Yeah. On to heat 3. This was the heat that you sort of, everyone was sort of lining themselves up to watch and really anticipating. Swords Rex was understandably a warm favourite from Trap 4, but 4 was going to be an issue, especially if one of his inside rivals got first run on him. As it was, he got badly balked at the opening corner, ran well to qualify in fourth, but Scooby Duchess, this was a return to the form, Tommy, that we saw at the back end of last year, maybe once or twice earlier this year. She's been a bit disappointing this year, but the trapping was back, and I suppose it's no surprise the way Jennifer O'Donnell's had the last few weeks going for her, that Scooby Duchess bolted out, made every inch of the running, 28-10. Just a brilliant display by a bitch who reminded everybody what a class act she can be. I thought We Can Dream ran well to qualify in third, and Ballymac Bailey ran a big race in defeat in second. He's only December 20. A lot of quality in this race, Tommy.
A lot of quality, and again, following on from Heat 2, telling you how competitive it's going to be when there's 3 parts of a length in it in 28-10. Scooby Duchess back to from like her 350s, the last day in a 550 doesn't equate to 325 whatsoever over 525. This is much sharper. Now she will need this every single night. She'll need that every single night if she's going to compete. But this is a big run. Ballymac Bailey caught my eye, but I like a couple of people said to me, Sword Rex is very disappointed. I wasn't as disappointed, I have to be honest about it. I thought he showed great pace into the bend, great pace down to the third bend, got done twice. Now, you said it at the top of the show, Ian, that these 4th places could be important. And he was one of them. He was one of those 4th place finishers who got away with it. He showed a nice attitude, of course, to stay on into 4th place. But it could be important going on. He's still a real player. I mean, it's only now 2 runs since he did 27.79. I joked with Graham Holland. I said on Saturday night, I said, maybe before this race, maybe Sword Rex might step up again from that run. He hadn't really found form before that. He said if he stays like that, it'll be okay, won't it?
Yeah, sure.
Right, he was.
I tend to agree with you. I would not be too disappointed with Swords Rex. I thought he showed lots of pace, lots of attitude. He got back into the mix to qualify in 4th, and yes, that won't be good enough going forward with 3 to qualify now. But yeah, lots of pace, and he still is a greyhound capable of probably doing a 27.80 around Curraheen on his own. And he is capable of a flying start, as we saw in Shelbourne Park last time out. Barry, Scooby Duchess, most impressive, but also impressive in behind as well.
Yeah, I suppose firstly on Scooby Duchess, that was her, I think, at her brilliant best. Great as well for, Jennifer O'Donnell and her return to racing action, as she said the other night, her first night back racing. Steve Noble made the trip across from the UK, told me after that was his first appearance to see one of his greyhounds win in live racing action. He's tasted some good success as well over the course of the last couple of years. Swords Rex, I'd fancy that to break the track record if he could get trap 1 some night in Curraheen Park, but unfortunately for his supporters, he's got trap number 5 next week, and just
and notably so does Scooby Duchess, although hers is much easier contest than that of Swords Rex, who was good Cody and Serene Ace to deal with, as well as the certain Buckles Budson. We'll get to him later on, but yeah, you're going to need to be on your toes there.
Without a doubt, and just like Tommy said, I thought he ran a remarkable race to qualify as well, because he had 2, really good dogs behind him in the finish. But just looking at his stats earlier, he's won 12 races. 8 of them have come from trap 1, 4 of them have come from trap 2. He's had 4 runs from trap 4 in the past, and he's never ran from trap number 5. So tough test ahead next week.
Yeah, need to have his trapping boots on, especially in that contest. Going to be some battle into the opening corner, and no question about that. Anything else you want to mention there in the heat, Tommy, before we move on?
No, that's. I think we've covered that one well. Ballymac Bailey, of course, lightly racing. I have to say, I did like that run.
Yeah, out of Ballymac Bonnie, she's I don't mean this in a strange way. Like she's a strange sort of dam. She either throws real early speed or real stamina, and there doesn't seem to be an awful lot in between. This fella seemed to have a bit of both. He does go up well. That's highlighted by his runs at Tralee. He's runs over 570. He was a bit disappointing in Shelbourne Park last night, but it was his first run, and he ran into one in Lujaneo, and I think it was Cool Boy Rusty was in front of him as well that night. But the other evening just showed pace everywhere. Like, what's he doing? He's doing a 28 sort of 15 run. So yeah, hell of a run by Ballymac Bailey. Certainly a greyhound to keep an eye on. The very quiet syndicate. They're anything but. On to the 4th race. Here we saw the reigning champion one time only, and I mean scraping through, but it was Russmore Pat. Not a surprise to anybody that's been watching him of late. Barry, this fellow's a bit of a local star.
Yeah, without a doubt. He was a dog I had plenty of time for, probably around this time last year, but it just wasn't happening for him. And whatever James O'Regan has done with this greyhound over the last month or two, it certainly has worked. He's trapping beautifully. We know he's very, very strong off the front, and in truth, this was race over after a matter of a couple of strides. One time only took a slight step to the right coming out of traps, came together with JT Wexford, trap number 3. Crossfield Linda was moving inwards on the run up, and as I said, look, once Rushmore Pat was in front, it was always just going to be a matter of how far. And he's delivered some top class performances over the last couple of weeks in Curraheen Park, and he's a big player going forward.
Tommy, the form stacks up well. Like, he beat I'll Not Be Back in Churchtown Sydney's last 2 starts. Both of them went out to win their heats in tremendous fashion. This Russmore Pat, November 19, has a bit of age in his side, but as Barry said, he's really come into his own. That's the type of dog you want to be keeping an eye on, a dog that's just found his feet, found his confidence, and here we are, 10 wins in his card now, and just doing things right.
Well, he was a Kingdom Derby finalist last year as well. Like, he's had that form for a while, and even the semi-final run in Tralee last year, second to Sing Along Sally. Like, there's serious form there. And his sectional stack up 330, 325. It was only 333 the other night, but his sectional stand up, and it was like Crossfield Linda things didn't go right for her. One time only, just at the moment not showing the same sort of spark as he showed. I won't say at the very start of last year, but maybe as he progressed through the Laurels last year, I'm sure Connection will be hoping that maybe the extra run will bring him forward a nice bit. It will need to.
Yeah,
because he, as you say, scraped through. We waited on the photo finish, and if you look at the photo finish on the screens, you wouldn't be sure which one was true.
I had him down for fifth on my card watching the race.
Watching it live,
Yeah.
I had as well, but until the photo came through, I was really tight. I was I was there with a friend of mine, and I thought he had qualified. He thought the other sixth dog had qualified. It was that tight. You just couldn't really be sure. So, look, you need to step up a good bit, but take nothing away from the winner. He's a smashing and consistent dog at the moment. Really running his heart out.
We'll move on to the next heat, heat 5, and by all accounts, this wasn't one of the standout heats by any stretch. The main talking point was Serene Ace missing the kick and actually doing okay to qualify in fourth. No, this is heat 5. The fourth place qualifiers to this point included Curraheen Lass, Storage Rex, one time only, and Serene Ace. I think that's pretty notable. You know, you put all the fourth place qualifiers thus far into a race together, and it's worthy of the final itself. So it was nice that it was 4 to qualify, because the competition keeps all this quality. It was Cool Boy Rusty, who's very good off the fence. He really does suit an inside draw. Like, he's only doing a 16.22. It was Galloping Sydney that flashed out and led up from trap 4, but just couldn't quite clear the corner. Cool Boy Rusty led off the opening bend, went on to win in 28.44. You know, it was an okay run by both of them. Millbridge Bryce ran on well to grab second. Serene Ace, though, was the one dog you take out of it going forward, but he's going to want to find his trapping boots, Barry.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he got away with it once. Won't get away with it again. We'll need to return to his usual flying starts. Of course, he posted a 3:22 sectional in a recent trial around Curraheen Park, so he'll want plenty more of them if he's going to go on and win the competition. Just in terms of Cool Boy Rusty, I thought he drove a very, very good opening corner, very brave there up along the inside, and went on to land the spoils. But yeah, more will be needed from all qualifiers here going forward.
Tommy, did you think Cool Boy Rusty had held on? It was fairly tight.
I thought he might have, but I wasn't 100% certain. I was kind of looking back to see what the story was of Serene Ace, and I was trying to look between the two at the time. Serene Ace has trap 1 in the heat of death next week. It'd just be interesting to see. He was just slightly hesitant at the traps the other night, whether he came out slightly, I think it was left, maybe he kind of stepped a little bit left, maybe. But anyway, he wasn't the fluent dog that we know we've seen out in sprint distances, and we've seen over 5.25. Just be interesting. He's got the Golden Highway next week, but he's got good Cody Storage Rex and Bacchus Budsit to deal with. So there's no chance to say, do you know what, we can ease him back in, and he's got a handy little one next week. Sorry about that.
Nice and handy. Millridge Bryce, as I said, running a big race in second. Yeah. Galloping Sydney out in 4. If he's on the inside, he's going to be a bigger player. He has to focus on just going up straight, rather than he was looking for his rails pitch from 4 and sort of cost him a little bit of ground into the opening corner. Cool Boy Rusty, just a likeable greyhound, probably a yard or two shy, but is one that you probably don't want up your inside. On to heat 6, and I thought this was a pretty notable run by Droopy's Iconic. Obviously, he checked up in Shelbourne Park and stopped the previous night. There was no getting away from that. The other night, it was a really purposeful run. He absolutely hammered down the back straight, took it up at halfway. The eye catcher, my God, Ballymac Whisper did some running. She is some fast lady, no question about that. Burgess Rapid up the inside. She's probably not fulfilling the promise she showed in qualifying. She looked like she was going to be a potential superstar. She needs to be on the bunny. She's a bit of a short runner, but no, Droopy's Iconic. There's a lot to like about him, Barry. Just that issue with Shelbourne Park the last night is a worry, but I thought Ballymac Whisper, for me, if I was looking for an each way bet in the Laurels, I think she'd be well up there.
Yeah, I think I'll leave Ballymac Whisper to Tommy. I know he was giving that strong claims the other night, but just in terms of Droopy's Iconic, yeah, what a fabulous greyhound this fella is, and great for local trainer to Pat Kiley to have a big contender, because he's a very popular character. We all see what he done around Curraheen Park when he won in 28.22. I thought his trial run over the 330-yard trip last time was a bit of an eye catcher as well. When you look at that split 5:30, that's not great at all, and he still went on the clock 17.51. Took him a while to get to the front, and I thought he got the job done there really, really nicely. And he's a greyhound. I suppose if it came to the latter stages and you see him drawing trap number 1, he'd be very hard to beat, because he's stone mad for the rails. But yeah, big contender going forward. He'll have to brush up in the trapping department ever so slightly, I suppose, when it comes to the crunch. But yeah, big player going forward.
Tommy.
Look, it's going to get sharper and tougher. It's notable that he was odds on to beat Romeo Hanzo in the heat of the like
No,
September
no,
17th.
that was the puppy race. That was the puppy race in Derby
The
final.
puppy race, sorry, yeah. Like it's notable that if you're in that sort of quality of a race in Shelbourne Park and your odds on, you're obviously showing an awful lot. He had shown it down here, but then again, even in his novice races, 3:33 is the same as the other night. He'll have to step up on that. Ballymac, but look, maybe she's one of those ones that'll be better in a better race where there's more early pace that can get away from her and let her pick away, because there was almost too much to do in terms of left right, swung very wide off the last bend. Look, she's going to struggle to win the Laurels if she when you get to the latter stages and a dog will pop out in front and do 28 seconds or 28:05 or something like that sort of time. But it was an encouraging start, and it just goes to show you, for a track that really should not suit her, for her to run as well as she did was remarkable. She got tremendous ability, but in terms of winning the Laurels, you really have to doubt it.
She's in hot enough next night. Gary Joe one time only, Curraheen last, and then you throw in the likes of Bella Medina, Roxy, and Cool
She'll
Boy
be
Rusty.
okay with that.
Yeah, it is a tough contest, but as you say, if she gets a run in behind him, she's one of those that's probably better in better company, a la Crafty Kokoro sort of style. Droopy's iconic Tommy, he's very fast, no question about that, and the penny seems to be dropping.
Yeah. But Barry said it, and I was just saying a second ago. I think like he's so lightly raced. You don't know quite what he's capable of yet, and he can definitely improve. It's just that little bit of sharpness at the traps is what you need, because this, as I said at the top of the program, there are 10 or 12 really truly top class 525 dogs here, like really truly. I mean, like classic winning potential, like that there'd be no surprise if they won classic. So this, I don't think, I think depth wise there, this is one of the better Laurels for quite some time now.
On to Heat 7. Speaking of one of those dogs, be no surprise if you won a classic, would be Bocco's Budsit. 27.97. He set the standard in the opening round. 3:15, 15.87. I'll say that again. 3:15, 15.87. That's special running, Barry. A greyhound that really does seem to love Curraheen Park in Cork. And by all accounts, he's going to get his draw every night.
That's exactly it. That's what we were talking about, I suppose, coming up on the car on Saturday night, with so many inside seeds and so many looking for that trap one draw. He's going to get his draw every night. 3:15 sectional. I think that's a record, unconfirmed, but I believe it is. He's treated us to two amazing performances in Cork over the last couple of weeks. He's been the big talking dog down here in Curraheen Park. So look, it was another fabulous performance. I thought trap number 4 ran a cracker in second. Ballinacariga, that must have been 8 or 9 lengths down at one stage, was beaten 5 lengths. That's trained locally by Kieran Lynch. That's an improving greyhound for sure. And Crypto Punk is a greyhound that would be keeping on side going forward. Wouldn't mind seeing him drawing an inside some night. I'd be certainly interested in getting involved in him. I thought he ran a big race as well in defeat, considering all that trouble he got at the opening turn.
Yeah, Tommy Bocco's Budsit just did it so well, so easily. Brilliant out front, no question about that. Crypto Punk really caught my eye. I thought he was showing real speed into the opening corner. Probably a dog that just continues to improve. He is a June 20, but we saw him running so well at Shelbourne Park in recent times. The other night he was hammering into the opening corner.
Yeah, Barry and I were both straight away after the race go, wow, look at the pace that Crypto Punk was showing into the bend. He's a type of one now. You'll have your savings on some night in this Laurels Heat, I suspect. Yeah, Barry and I might be missing on some Monday morning if he gets beaten at a well-backed short price. But
our wins.
Our wins. Our wins. I like it, Barry. Bocco's Budsit. I loved about Bocco's Budsit, the 27.93 run here a few weeks ago, was that he ran the track exceptionally well. He didn't dive in early or didn't do Anton City. He just flew out and ran a good line. And most nights he's going to be clear. 3:15. I've never heard of a 3:15. Maybe there has been. I haven't heard of a 3:15. I certainly don't remember it over the last 10 or so years or 15 years and going up there. I think like it's hard to ask a dog to keep doing that. But he did his 27.93 off of 3:26, so maybe he doesn't have to. And even though he's in the heat of death next week, they're all inside seeds. Do you know how many wide seeds are left in the competition?
Probably 3 or 4 only.
Five, and I'd say 3 of them you put down as slow to moderate starters.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
he's definitely getting his draws, no question about that. If he continues this line of form, if he continues to run like this now, obviously next week's a huge test. But the beauty is, if he gets 2 next week, he's one less hot shot going through, because if he wins or finishes second or third, one of the other big guns is going out, be it a Serene Ace, a good Cody, a Swords Rex. So we're going to lose a really good greyhound from that heat next week.
He is a bit of a it's an all or nothing kind of a merchant.
I used to think that, Tommy. The one night he came from behind Park Lake down the back straight in Shelbourne Park, and he has a couple of last place finishes on his card. Let's say the last 2 months, but I don't think he's the dog that if he's entering the back straight second or third, that he's going to fold away. I think he'll run right to the line.
Yeah,
but if he doesn't lead, he's going to struggle to come from behind these sharp dogs.
I had bad memories of the Derby quarterfinal. Was it third round of quarterfinal? Quarterfinal, they just missed it completely.
Yeah,
and that was that. Hopefully that was, for his sake. Hopefully that was just one of those nights, and that'll not to be repeated. But like he's an asset. I like some of the dogs that finished fourth in the first round heats the other night. He's an asset to the competition, so we need him going deep.
Yeah, well, 20 top 2 finishes from 30 starts isn't a bad record. Do you know what I mean?
You mean he's 1-3? He's out of the top 3.
Okay, we'll move on. I said top 2, but you're right, it is top 3 because he never finished third. On to he's 8. Here we saw the old star, my old buddy, Beach Avenue. Just imagine owning a greyhound like this, Tommy. Just imagine owning a greyhound like Beach Avenue. Like, what an absolute star. He wasn't completely outclassed into the opening corner. He popped out and he held his position, snuck around. Droopy's rocker, got on the bunny. Hard enough dog to pick up. A dog that sees out 550 yards, but Beach Avenue got there, and he actually ended up getting there pretty comfortably, Barry, or Tommy.
Look, he's a dog that could probably come on the show and talk to us here. He's been around so long. He knows more about greyhound racing than we do. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself. I think the trio paid €600 in this. I'm not certain.
And I backed him to win on the toes. And afterwards, I'm scratching my head. Now it's only going to be. It's probably only a 300 quid trio. But you know what?
But still,
yeah.
I kind of have talked to myself because the makeup of the race wasn't that bad. I mean, you could make a case to say that some of them weren't the most reliable starters, and it might just be type of race that might suit him. I was kind of a little bit annoyed myself that I didn't boil it down to that beforehand.
Well, my logic was that Luna Rocket would be edging in from 5, so he was going to get a clear run, and he loves the place. Like, there's no doubt about that. He's some unbelievable form around Cork.
Yeah, look, this is pretty close to his best form around Curraheen Park, but you knew if you were on Droopy's Rocker, you were probably in a bit of trouble when Beach Avenue was chasing you down the back and just edging closer all the way. So he's just a smashing dog, isn't he? What's that? 18 wins now.
Yeah, unbelievable. Barry, you were watching it from the stands at Curraheen Park. Was there a sense of knowing from halfway? Like, could you sense that the people around you knew what was going to happen?
No, not really, to be honest with you. Look, we know he's a big, powerful finisher, but at the same time, like, Droopy's Rocker is probably 4 or 5 lengths clear a dog that is 28, 27.
See, that's the difference. In Dublin, we would have known, we're just that bit sharper,
If I was on Droopy's Rocker anyway, I would have fell off my chair. You know what I mean? Like, to be that far in front and get caught. No, at the same time, just looking back at it, I would imagine Droopy's Rocker probably just needed to run. He's off the track for a couple of weeks, and I'm sure Johnny was, probably gave him a couple of easy weeks and got him going again. So look, we'll probably see better from him next time. But yeah, look, what can you say about Beach Avenue? Unbelievable class ground.
Yeah, what a star. Brogan Highway and Luna Rocket were the other 2 qualifiers there. On to Heat 9, and this was my old pal, Good Cody. Tommy, if you could bottle this start, he would be an absolutely sensational greyhound. He's already won an Irish Sprint Cup and a Tralee Kingdom Derby. But yet it could have been so much more given his talent. He's just an immensely fast greyhound. 28.05, a 3:28 of 15.90. Just a proper greyhound.
I think that just about sums it up. He's just a superb dog, and he's holding his form really well. What is he, 3? He's there's just so much to like about him. I think. Look, I don't know that he'd win the competition. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll manage to do it. This is getting fiercely competitive. I had a small bit of concern that the run over 5.75 might take a bit of an edge off him. It clearly didn't.
Yeah,
it's just I always the concern I have, and clearly I'm wrong about it. But I always have kind of a concern when they kind of do things like that, drop to a trip quickly to to a sprint or go up to something like 5.75 can take a bit out of dogs. It's a really tough race. He's just clearly a professional, isn't he?
Yeah. Just a hell of a greyhound. Barry, this from the stands, it was over from Trap Rise.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, when you see him drawn in trap number 1 prior to the competition, he looked at the real penalty kick. If you were going to pick one that would definitely win, he would have been certainly top of the list. But look, it's great to have a greyhound like Good Cody in the Laurels, because he was one of the big star names when the draw was made. So we want to see them, them names go a long way in the competition. Look, and it was a polished performance, a top class run, outcome never in doubt. Ballymacleon ran well in defeat. Made up good late progress, but Good Cody was just a bit stronger there. So yeah, another great heat.
I wonder is the sharper test at Curraheen Park going to really suit Ballymacleon, Tommy, because he's the dog I've been waiting for it to happen. Maybe he's just not quite a 550-yard dog. It was a hell of a run the other night in the feet.
Yeah, like it took him all the way to the escape to get by Good Cody, but like he did a 3. He probably wasn't a million miles off. Like probably 3:30, 3 or 4. Let me check what I'm talking very quickly. And I thought actually he showed 3:33. He did he showed it, and then he got left behind, maybe down the back a bit, and then ran on again strongly. Yeah, I'm not sure where his trip fits in exactly, if you know what I mean. I don't know that he'll have the early pace to really go with it as this gets deeper, and I've laboured the point a bit now, but there is immense early pace in this year's competition. But he is the type of dog you could see sneaking into a place, showing pace to kind of challenge for the places all the way through. Could be another dog that could just sneak into a final. I was impressed with the effort in defeat. Yeah,
Droopy's Dancer, a youngster qualifying, and Cash and Miska. Has some decent form around Tralee. Just wouldn't be surprised if Chris Houlihan had one in the latter stages. It's amazing how often he's done it over the years.
Unbelievable. And you know what? I nearly say if you went back over Chris's greyhounds that had qualified to latter stages like this, they might have been coming out of graded races rather than open races. Unexposed and just coming through. And he knows the type of dog that's needed for Curraheen Park.
He always seems to know what he has.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? Like you can look at some dogs and you go, "What's that doing in the Laurels?" You look at this and you go 8-3, and then you do 28-59 try, and you're going, "That's a waste of his time here." But I just wouldn't be surprised that this is the type of dog that just improves steadily through the competition.
Yeah, lots happening in Heat 10, but it was Hawkfield Ozark that was expected. Like certainly anyone that saw him in Shelbourne Park over the last few weeks wasn't expecting Kilgraney Sydney to lead him. And that's how it turned out. He was the even money favourite. Kilgraney Sydney 5-4. Hawkfield Ozark though has blistering early speed. Obviously he's the Irish Sprint Cup champion, but it was that run, that 193 at Shelbourne the night he did a 15.66 to the third bend, a record at Shelbourne Park that really struck him out as this is a dog that could go very well in the Laurels. 28-28, he's given away a little bit of ground from the third bend home, Tommy, but this was a truly professional display by a very professional greyhound.
I have it down in as not his best display, and the reason why he turned right out of traps and bumped into the two dog Kilgraney Sydney early, lost a bit of momentum, had to pick up again to lead. Kilgraney Sydney ran a superb race in defeat, but like for a dog that had done 27.91 in the trial, it's exactly what you'd expect. So even though it's 28-28 and Hawkfield and Kilgraney Sydney got forced to check at the third bend, and you could argue all day that Kilgraney Sydney was unlucky, I still think that Hawkfield Ozark has more to give. I just have a little bit of a concern. I don't think, and this goes against everything you think about Curraheen Park, but I don't think I really want him in trap 1. I want him in 2 probably. I don't want him in trap 1, Hawkfield Ozark.
His big run at Shelbourne came from trap 4. He's in trap 4 the next night. He was in 6 the other evening in Shelbourne the night he was beaten by Swords Rex, but you can forgive him for that. When you see Swords Rex up his inside and Swords Rex powers away, and we know Hawkfield Ozark has to be on the buddy, no question about it. I tend to agree with you. I think he'll break better from the middle. I would have even considered a middle seeding him, only you're probably going to get 6. But But if you put him in 4 or 5 every night, I'd been more than happy. Barry, what did it look like from the ground? 2 fast greyhounds battling it out up front. A dog that finished last in the race, Rowana Sheeler. I just can't wait for this dog to be sprinting. Oh my God, he has some early speed. Like for him off the start he made to be right there, bang, contention on the corner against these 2 dogs was unbelievable.
Yeah, just in terms of the winner Hawkfield Ozark, he done 15.98 after taking a step to the right after coming out of the traps, and they came together with Kilgraney Sydney. When he does things right, he could do 15.80. We all see the early speed that he has in Shelbourne Park, and Tommy was very sweet on his chances there on Saturday night, and as a possible winner for the competition. I think he is very much the one they all have to beat. Now, if I were to put a gun to my head and say who'd win the Laurels, I'd go with Hawkfield Ozark. I think there's much better to come, and I think he's the one they all have to beat.
Wow, okay. That's fairly strong. Kilgraney Sydney, while Hawkfield Ozark, you'd settle for him out, in the middle of the track. Kilgraney Sydney's in 5 the next night. Now he's on the outside of Hawkfield Ozark again. He's a dog you'd love to paint the red jacket on. When he doesn't have to worry himself with dogs in his inner, he can really focus and go forward. 5 the next night is a big concern for his backers, Tommy.
It is, and it would be a shame if he went out, because there's real quality to him, and he's to my mind, like, he's an awful big dog. I wouldn't like to be in trap 2 tonight. He's in trap 1 anyway. That's all I know. Going up to the bend on his outside.
He's a 27.94 in the trial at Shelbourne, a 27.91 around Cork. 91. Just goes to show the pace he obviously has. The other dogs, the other qualifiers there, Millridge Dolly was back in 3rd, and Millridge Andy. The two Millridge half comrades finishing 3rd and 4th for Donal O'Mahony. Donny has a good record. He'd love to have one in the latter stages.
He does have a good record, and another man who doesn't waste, just run dogs for the sake of running dogs in the Laurels. Like, you tend to, they are smart performers. Thought they both ran quite well, to be quite honest about it.
On to he's 11. Churchtown Sid, a dog that certainly knows his way around Curraheen Park, but only a 2nd win. That's somewhat surprising for me. Barry, Mullingar Shuffle, he was known in his early days. He's always been a dog that has shown plenty of pace and promise, but it just never quite happened for him. New owner now, new name, and here we are. He's after winning a heat of Laurels, and while he'll need to improve considerably on it, it was nice for him certainly to rack up a 2nd win.
Yeah, without a doubt, his sole win would have came at the Juvenile Classic below in Tralee when he won that night in 28, 29. So he's been competing at a very high level since. As you said, look, he's changed ownership. Michael Crotty has been was a fantastic supporter of greyhound racing over the last number of years. Likes to have a few quid on. Speaking to trainer Dennis Fitzgerald after the race on Saturday night, and he said that was the Churchtown Sid's Laurels final there on Saturday night. So they were absolutely delighted with that. It looked, I suppose, a race where he could get the job done. And he certainly did that with a real strong performance there in the closing stages, because Priced as King would be an easy dog to pass. He had form over 550, so he had to pull out all the stops there in the closing stages. So yeah, look, great local success once again. Well done to all connected.
Yeah, Price is King. He's not a massively strong 550 runner or anything like it. He's not a massively strong 525 yard runner, but at the same time, you probably would have expected him to win from where he was, Tommy. There's better to come from him. I'm sure he'll need to be getting on the bunny.
Yeah, look, depth-wise, it wasn't one of the stronger heats of the first round, so it kind of teed it up for an opportunity for a dog like that. I'm just glad, nothing against Price the King, but I'm just glad for Mick Crotty, because we know Mick well locally, and he's a gentleman, and he puts a good bit into the sport. And as Barry said, he does like a bet. I'm sure he would have backed it the other night. And just nice for him to win a heat of the Laurels.
Yeah, and to the final heat, where I'll not be back, was one of the stars for the ladies, 28.02. She's just been one of those bitches that when she finds herself running into form, she really does run into form. And this was her at her best at 3:30, a 16.06. Those clocks aren't sensational compared to some of the others, but the 28.02 really does stack up well. And she needed to do it because it was a better, more encouraging run from Droopy's Edison in second. Tommy, we know how good he was at the start of the year. It's been a bit disappointing of late, but I'm sure his owners and Robert Gleeson would be more than happy with his run defeat. But I'll not be back. What a star she can be and continues to be.
Yeah. Only 5 dogs in the heat, and the 6th dog, Demand Survivor, just can't seem to break to the best of his ability at the moment, whatever the reason is. He's just leaving his races in traps. Has tremendous early pace. He has 278 in Clonmel, which should be the equivalent of about a 330. He's not doing that at the moment. He needs to. And
he is, and there's no question. Like, he's a very short runner. He has to be in front, or
has to be. So effectively, it was a 2-dog race very quickly. I'll not be back. You would have a slight concern on purely on those sections. I wonder why a 3:30 turned into a 16:06, but obviously it's phenomenal finishing ability, doing 11:96 or something. Is it? 11:96. Like, that's phenomenal finishing ability. But I just wonder, will she lose in the middle of races as it gets that little bit tighter? Maybe not. This is the first round of Laurels. She can go on and improve, and she has done a huge amount of racing, 23 races now. I like the performance. I don't know what to make of Drewby's Edison. I know Robert felt that he needed time, and it was kind of a race against time in Shelbourne Park over the last month or so, or maybe 6 weeks. It was just a race against time. And was this a much improved run? He's doing 28:07, so you obviously would say yes, it definitely is. But there wasn't a lot of depth in the race. I'd just like to see him again next week and maybe take a step forward. Don't know. I still, and I don't want to be unfair to the Greyhound because he's seriously fast, but I still don't know where I stand with him. Even though he did a 28:07 on the card.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out. It's his first official look at Curraheen Park now. He may well have been around the trial at some point. I'm not sure, but he certainly hasn't had time in recent weeks to be around Curraheen. No. So entitled to improve for it, as you said, but he'll need to. No question about it. Barry, go ahead.
Sorry, Ian. It's not that he'll need to improve hugely. Like, I mean, if you do 28:07 and takes a length off, he's a player. I'm there's something about the run I'm just not fully sure yet, and before I'd even think about backing to win a Laurels, I'd like to be convinced.
Yeah, well, if he's behind, I'll not be back. Who's doing a 3:30 into the opening corner? When things get hotter, he's definitely going to need to be doing better than that. Whatever about the finishing time, 28:07 will get him a long way in the Laurels. He's going to need to be doing more early, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. That's where I stand with him. I'm just not sure exactly, because I think he's capable of running a better race. I don't know if he's capable of better than 28:07, but I think he's capable of achieving 28:07 in a better way, and he has to be able to.
Yeah. Barry, anything you want to add? Because I know you have to head off. Myself and Tommy just might wrap up Shelbourne Park action. The Laurels, you're after stating that Hawkfield Ozark is the dog you'd be keeping an eye on going forward. Is there anything else that sort of just caught the eye a little bit and went, just don't be surprised if that improves?
Droopy's timing, the Pack Highly trained runner. Look, obviously, as we said, he'll have to brush up in the trapping department. But look, he's only after a couple of races, or Droopy's iconic, I should say.
His timing, I think, was running in Shelbourne Park on Thursday.
Was he? Yeah. No, but Droopy's iconic. Look, he's only after 4 runs. He's competing in the Irish Greyhound Laurels, and he put on a stunning performance the other night. So there's loads more to come from him. And I know he's got a couple of real big trials done as well, and big sectionals done. So don't roll this Greyhound out. I think he's going to get better and better. Just finally, before I finish up, in terms of Droopy's Edison, I thought if you were ever going to punt him, I thought Saturday night was the night to punt him with I'll Not Be Back, who took a step or two to the right early on, moved into the 3 or 4 lane. I think Droopy's Edison showed plenty of speed in the feet, but just don't think he has the early pace for the Laurels. But I'm sure there'll be good days ahead for him going forward. But yeah, look, it was a brilliant.
If you want to lay him on Saturday night, he won't be a big price. He's in trap one again. He's a great draw.
Some draw. Yeah. Unbelievable draw.
Yeah, but just finally, look, it was a brilliant night of racing action. It was great to see him, a great buzz around again, big crowd, and just once again urging everyone to come out and support the Irish Greyhound Laurels over the course of the next couple of weeks. The likes of Jimmy Barry Murphy, Damien Holland, Vincent O'Donovan, JJ Fenley, and all the hard-working committee have done Trojan work over the last number of years. And Saturday night was a big night, and as I said, we're looking forward to more of the same over the course of the next couple of weeks.
Here. Well said, Barry. We look forward to it. Keep us up to date with all proceedings on Talking Dogs, and we'll be looking out for some great content over the next few weeks. Listen, I know you have to get to the yoga class this morning. Off you go, and we'll talk to you later in the week. Thanks, Barry.
Very well. Good luck.
Good luck. Tommy Lyons, what's your thoughts on the Laurels? What's your idea of a winner?
Oh, well, I look at I think quite obviously, I think Bacchus Budsit is a major player because he gets his draw most nights. Now, I do feel that the Laurels is the Laurels at the end of the day, right? And if you get to the final capable of doing 27.92 or 27.90 from the outside, you're not necessarily going to be favoured because there'll be dogs probably along the inside that can probably do 28 seconds, and the difference between it being inside and outside can be negated by 10, 20 spots just by having the right position in a race. So I think that
said, he doesn't have to worry about traffic in the first 50 yards, where a lot of those early pacers on the inside will.
No. That's key. But if you had a smashing early pacer, or you're a good Cody's or something inside in trap one, you're kind of thinking, where am I going to get it here? I really can't afford to miss a beat. Even I can't afford to do a 3:28. I have to do a 3:15 like I did the other night. So Crypto Punk, we talked about him, Sen's dog that could potentially still be improving. I thought that was a fabulous run. Now, he did cut across the first bend, and there would be a small bit of concern about that if he was drawn out too far middle again. But I'd love to see him get a go. And maybe, I know he steps to the right, so I don't know again that I want him in trap 1 or trap 2.
He's in 5 the next night. So
Yeah,
we're
but
sort of
I
looking at him
think
from a more middle draw. As you say.
I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine next week. But I think he'll be fine next week. But I just again a little bit of concern. I don't know where I want him in the trap twice. You know, in Curraheen Park, and when you get to latter stages, if you're not saying I want my dog in trap one, you're probably on the wrong dog.
Yeah, no, that's true enough. We'll go to Shelbourne Park because we had a wonderful juvenile derby to look back on the opening round heats of the Yvonne Barry Bookmaker 600. Firstly, the juvenile derby. You speak about the early speed in the Laurels. I think the top 4 or 5 in the juvenile derby would be right bang up there in the top 5 or 6 in the Laurels. Just that's the quality and the early speed that's on show. The opening heat the other evening went to Trinity Junior, returning to winning ways. He's now 5 from 6. Son of Law Hill Blake banged out, made every inch of the running, so impressive. And then followed up by a very similar scenario. Drewby's got it. He suffered his first defeat in the opening round, but showed plenty of place in defeat. He's now 6 from 7, and he did everything right from an inside draw, bang, away and gone. And then another Holiday followed up, and another away and gone, and he's only lost one. So those 3 heat winners, between them, have only lost 3 races in total. And here we are, looking forward to the meeting in the semi-finals of a juvenile derby. Perhaps, hopefully, all get to the final. And then the final heat, Bogger Hunter is a dog that's really caught the eye last week, and he had to work hard for tonight. A number of dogs charging boxes, but showed great pace to get to the front down to the third bend, and then held on from a resurgent Raha Mofo, who really is running with some purpose at present. It's just an unbelievable competition, Tommy. What were the standouts for you?
It was probably Raha Mofo. The pace in the feed was crazy. There was a point in the race he thought she's going to go out. Yeah. And next thing
it reminded me of her first round run in the Laurels, or in the Oaks, should I say? Do you remember that night we were sort of discussing it? It was just she took off.
It's so rare that you can have a greyhound that can lead. I know she's not a specialist early pacer, but has the early pace. She did show.
She's a specialist trapper. She's a specialist trapper. Probably lacks a yard early, but then gets going. The other night, as I said to you, probably not visible unless you're watching the video live, that they notably charged. There was probably 4 or 5 seconds before the actual boxes. So in the video you don't see it, but you saw 1 or 2 of the white greyhounds, Bogger Hunter, you could see between his shoulder blades, on traps. So it was no surprise that it was a bit of a staggered start.
Yeah, no, I watched this one quite closely, and the other night watching it on the telly in Curraheen Park, and like Bogger Hunter, obviously he's a half brother to the Derby Pro-Am. He ran. He's phenomenally fast. But like what Raha Mofo did the other night was sensational. Now look at, if you've got another Holiday who's going to fly out and do it, like another Holiday looks the most uncomplicated greyhound of all time. It's just, you think it's just going to do it, like, and if it's in
point and shoot.
Yeah, like if it's in trap 1, you may just forget about it. Drewby's got it. Phenomenal early pace. Like it just, and better than 28, 29 as well. I think that's fair to say.
I tend to agree. Yeah.
So that's going to do sub 28 seconds in its sleep. Like, I mean, the quality of racing was laughably good. We had the 12 heats of the Laurels, and I think it's as deep a Laurels as there has been for quite some time. And then you had the juvenile derby, and then you went on to the 600 for actually a couple of the greyhounds in Curraheen last. Ideally, might have been in this competition rather than being in the Laurels. You could have been a player here. Yeah. That said, the quality is so good. And was there a race? Has there been a race as good as Crafty Kikora and Bacchus Crystal in Shelbourne Park for quite some time? And yes, you always kind of thought the Crafty Kikora was going to get.
I was going to always seem to be just a sense of inevitability about when she turned second, and I sort of when she come up the light straight, I was going, God, like she should be winning this by further. And then you look at the clock; she's only the fourth dog ever to break 32 seconds. The second one is doing 32:03. 32:03, like that's just mind-boggling. I remember Late Show did 32:20. I thought it'd never be broken, and here we are, sort of half complaining about a bitch being beaten in 32:03. Like, it's just stunning run. It's a hell of a competition.
Well, like I was watching it with a few friends above in Shelbourne or in Curraheen, and I was saying like, look, she's positioned to win now, but I said the bitch in front is really, really good. Don't underestimate it. The one in front is really good. And yet I always thought that Crafty was going to get there, and she did. And unfair to Bacchus Crystal to say there was a shade comfortable, because there was that air of inevitability about it from the whole way. But like, on a given night, Bacchus Crystal is probably she is going to lead her nearly every night they meet. And all of a sudden, Crafty Cora might just find a little bit of trouble or whatever. But this is just this is just a joyous race. It reminded me a bit of my old favourite race that I kept talking about down through the years with Spartan Maestro and Ballymakeski. That's one of my favourite races ever that I've ever seen live, and that was very similar.
Yeah, it was a great book, like a 3 parts of length. As you said, there was a sense of inevitability about it, but the fact that Buckles Crystal is only beaten 3 parts of length in the end just highlights how good a bitch she is. She really is improving all the time. She's only twice been out of the frame. She's she just has a wonderful record. She's
only 14 races.
She's such a bright star. Like she's and 12 of them she's been in the first 2, 6 wins, 6 seconds. And look at the dogs she's been second to. The likes of Grafty Kokoro, Ballabula Ed. Like it's not slouches that are beating her. So it's going to need something like that. And by all accounts, Crafty Kokoro is not guaranteed to turn second to her if they meet again in the final, shall we say. They are separated in semi-finals. She's not guaranteed to turn a close second like she did the other evening. She might have a little bit more work in her hands, and just don't be surprised now if Buckles Crystal was even disputing favoritism in the final if draw goes in her favor. And the other heat winners there were sorry, let me open it up again. Bobsleigh Dream did everything right. I thought they were closing her at the third bend. I'm going, God, and she's doing 32.12. Like, it's an unbelievable run again. Callaway Masters, what a likable type he is. Got on the bunny early. Stories Pee Wee looked a big threat, but he just keeps on going. Callaway Masters, a dog that just has been in so much wonderful form since sort of the middle of early July. And the other heat winner, Buckles Palace, obviously a brother to Buckles Crystal, really nice type himself. I was actually talking to Graham Box the other morning. He said, we're going to sell him. He said he's a dog for sale. He says they just have so much quality and they just need to free up room. They have 9 down with Graham, and if they want to bring another couple back in, they're going to have to get rid of 1 or 2. And Buckles Palace is one that they've decided they're going to move on. He's in the semi-finals. A stake worth $5,000. I don't know. I could be tempted. But it's just a quality competition.
It's a quality competition, Ian, but then have a look at the Juvenile Derby as well. And I was just looking at the heats for semi-final. You nearly have to back Rahamofo to win the competition because Droopy's got us out in trap 6. Another Holiday's out in 4. Talk about a draw making a monstrous difference, or certainly putting a huge spanner in the works for the competition. So I mean, you've got Rahamofo then out in 6, and you've got Bogger Hunters in 3, who's going to be a player. Clona Duke is running well. Trinity Junior's in great form. But you'd imagine it's kind of set up for Rahamofo as the only seeded runner left in the competition.
Yeah, she does have the draw. The rank outsider will be in 5. Marina's Joker. Clona Duke isn't getting the hit. He's not getting the kick, but he's shown loads of pace. You've Bogger Hunter, Trinity Junior, and Ben's Teddy on the inside. He looks a really strong running tracker. I think the penny's yet to fully drop with him. I think he probably is more early than he's shown the last 2 nights. But yeah, even in the other heat, like Bunkers Hills racing trap 3, it'll be a big price. But yet he did a 209. He leads from much of the way the previous week in a race 1 in 28.25. So he can play a part. 3 Cannons is in trap 2. She has shown all sorts of pace the last 2 nights. Like, she's beaten 3.5 lengths into third behind Droopy's Got It the other night. But look at the traffic she found. She has an unbelievable engine. Now, if they were given another go, I'm sure they would have stuck a W on her. I think she ran so well from the outside the previous week. And Radical Hero, like, there's not an awful lot to him. He's only 65 pounds, but he led for much of the way the other evening, and he has a 28.22 and a 28.24. And we haven't even mentioned a Romeo Command, a dog that I know you think a lot of. I certainly think a lot of you. 28.29 on his card in defeat in the stake, yet to get his trapping right at Shelbourne Park. It'd be interesting. He's needs it next night because he's flanked by another Holiday and Droopy's Got It. That's a fair test of a greyhound. Just wonderful competitions both at Shelbourne Park and of course the Laurels. Also want to mention Gizmo Cash set the standard in the opening round. The Fair Warrior at Mullingar. That's no surprise to anybody. A good run by Crafty Bonanza and Hawkfield David. They were the next 2 fastest. But just lots of great racing on at present, Tommy. But very much about the Laurels and Juvenile Derby for the next few weeks.
Yeah, look, it's pure quality, and we talked about in the Derby how a lot of young dogs were involved, and at the latter stages. So as you said earlier on about some of the dogs in the Juvenile Derby, they'd be worth a place in the Laurels in an all-age classic already, and that's I think as much as the Derby are following on from it, just to show the depth of quality again. If you can have competitions as good as the 2 in Shelbourne Park are and the 1 in Curraheen Park is at the moment, it's just phenomenal. They put them all together in one night of stars. Like, imagine what you have.
Imagine what the ledger's going to be like. Like if the three
Yeah.
competitions converge into this one sort of super stake at Limerick, like it could be anything. Now there are
It could be.
obviously there are a few dogs in the Laurels and Juvenile Derby where 550 at this point in their career just might be a little bit far.
Yeah.
But Jesus, some early speed. Like there's like the early speed on show in both Curraheen and Shelbourne Park in the Juvenile Derby is frightening.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and yeah. Like I say, I haven't seen the prices yet. I don't know if they've been updated yet for the Laurels. I had a couple of small, tiny bets back to Hawkfield, Ozark, and Bacchus Budsit before the start, both at 14-1. I haven't seen the updated prices yet, but I can't imagine there'd be a huge contraction in many of the dogs' prices because they're effectively all there. And like we said, they're not going to make a big mistake and push George Rex out to a huge price, even though he's got a terrible draw next weekend. If he finds a way through, all of a sudden, all he needs to be is get a half decent draw in the next third round, and he's probably favoured for the competition. So, like, it's wide open still, and that's what you want. If it's no point in having a 9-4 favourite at this stage of competition.
There'll be 3 or 4 dogs to finish fourth in the opening round of the Laurels that will be amongst the top 10 in the betting. That sums it up.
Yeah.
Like that's what can happen. No, Tommy, that's great. The friends and supporters of Cork Greyhound Racing Irish Laurels really is a wonderful competition. So too the RPGTV Juvenile Derby, the Yvonne Barry Track Bookmakers 600, the Fair Warrior. Lots to look forward to in the coming weeks, and of course we'll be keeping you up to date. My again thanks to the exiled dub Tommy Lyons joining us this morning from Youghal, and of course the man that's already gone to his yoga class, Barry Drake. But that's it from us today on Talking Dogs on a Monday. We'll see you next week. Remember, if you can get to the track this weekend, there's nothing like being there in person, be it Shelbourne Park, Mullingar, Curraheen Park. Try and get there and let's support this wonderful, wonderful support of ours. That's it. Good luck. Good night. God bless.